Ron Chernow's Mark Twain invites you to look beyond the familiar image of America's beloved humorist. You might picture Mark Twain as the man in the white suit, dispensing witty aphorisms with a twinkle in his eye. But to limit him to this caricature is to miss the restless, often tormented soul, who became one of our most iconic and challenging literary figures. Chernow's biography masterfully peels back these layers of myth, revealing Samuel Langhorne Clemens in all his complexity, a man whose life mirrored the turbulent, contradictory spirit of 19th-century America. By exploring Twain's journey, you'll gain not just a richer understanding of the man, but also a clearer view of the forces that shaped modern American identity, revealing how his unyielding search for truth and freedom forged a literary voice that continues to captivate and provoke. The first key insight is that the mighty Mississippi River was more than just a backdrop for Samuel Clemens. It was his first university and a lifelong symbol of freedom. Chernow shows how Twain's early years as a steamboat pilot, detailed in works like Life on the Mississippi, were formative. This wasn't just a job, it was an immersion into a vibrant, raw slice of American life, teeming with diverse characters and demanding absolute mastery of an ever-changing environment. For Twain, the pilot house represented a kingdom of independence, a place of untrammeled truth. This yearning for freedom and the keen observational skills honed on the river would become the bedrock of his literary genius, allowing him to capture the authentic voice and restless energy of the American heartland. You'll see how these experiences fueled his most enduring works and shaped his perspective on society. Next, consider the man behind the mask. For Mark Twain, the public persona, was a master entertainer. But Chernow reveals that behind the celebrated humorist was a man often seething with anger and wrestling with a deep-seated pessimism. William Dean Howells once remarked on "What a bottom of fury there is to your fun," and this biography uncovers those depths. Twain's wit was not merely playful. It was a weapon, often laced with vinegar, not oil, used to excoriate hypocrisy, injustice, and the damned human race. You'll understand how his sharp critiques of society, from political corruption to religious pretense, were fueled by a profound dissatisfaction and a relentless desire to expose shams. This insight helps you appreciate the serious purpose and often dark undercurrents beneath his most famous jokes. Another crucial aspect of Twain's life was his lifelong reckoning with race and slavery. Born into a slave-owning family in Missouri, Mark Twain's journey on the issue of race was complex and ultimately remarkable. Chernow meticulously traces this evolution from the casual racism of his youth to his later, more enlightened views and actions, such as financing a black law student at Yale. Books like Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, though controversial for their language, represent a powerful engagement with the moral blight of slavery. You'll discover how Twain, more than perhaps any other white writer of his time, grappled with the centrality of black culture to the American experience and how his personal growth reflected a larger, albeit incomplete, societal reckoning. Building on this, you'll learn about Twain's relentless pursuit of fortune and fame. Beyond his literary achievements, Mark Twain was a quintessential Gilded Age figure, endlessly pursuing wealth through a dizzying array of business ventures and inventions. Chernow portrays a man who raged against plutocrats while desperately trying to become one. From speculating in mining shares to investing disastrously in the Page typesetting machine, Twain embodied the era's speculative fever. You'll learn about his shameless self-promotion and how he essentially invented the modern concept of the author as a celebrity, constantly in the public eye. This relentless drive for fortune and fame often led to financial ruin and personal anguish, revealing another layer of the man's complex and often contradictory nature. Finally, understand that for all his public cynicism, Mark Twain found his deepest happiness and most profound sorrows within his family. His adoration for his wife Livy and their three daughters, Susie, Clara, and Jean, formed the emotional core of his life. Chernow details how Livy was the necessary ballast, a civilizing influence who often tempered his fury and edited his work. Yet, this domestic sanctuary was repeatedly shattered by a staggering number of calamities, including the early deaths of children and Livy's own declining health. You'll see how these personal tragedies profoundly shaped Twain's later, darker writings and his philosophical outlook, adding a poignant dimension to the public humorist. The main takeaway of Ron Chernow's Mark Twain is that this towering figure was far more than America's celebrated jester. He was a profoundly American and deeply contradictory man, whose genius was forged in personal struggle, societal upheaval, and an unyielding quest for truth. From his formative years on the Mississippi to his later battles with societal injustice and his own inner demons, Twain's life and work offer an unparalleled window into the American spirit. Understanding the complex interplay between Samuel Clemens the man and Mark Twain the persona provides you with a richer, more nuanced appreciation for one of literature's most original and enduring voices. All right, that's a wrap on today's summary. Thanks for listening. If this book summary sparked your curiosity or gave you new insights, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss our next summary. Keep reading, keep growing, and see you in the next one.